Our announcement last night regarding the high altitude surveillance balloon. I'm not going to have much new information to provide other than to say that the North American Aerospace Defense Command continues to monitor it closely. While we won't get into specifics in regards to the exact location, I can tell you that the balloon continues to move eastward and is currently over the center of the continental United States.
So a massive balloon from China was spotted over the United States in Montana. China's saying it's mostly for weather surveillance. The United States media and politicians seem to be calling it a Chinese spy balloon, saying it's more of a surveillance tool than a weather tool.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we'll continue to monitor it. Right now, we assess that it'll probably be over the United States for a few days. But we'll continue to monitor, review our options, and keep you updated as we can.
What do you think about what's going on? We're going to talk about what we're being told and read a few user comments on air. And then we're going to talk about this clip going viral of Jordan Peterson encouraging United States citizens to talk to their representatives to try and regime change Iran.
If any of you have been particularly taken by this story today, you could always put pen to paper and write your congressman or your senator and let them know that you're not all that happy about the situation in Iran, and that if the politicians got their act together and were stalwart in their opposition to this fundamentalist, totalitarian, misogynistic, brutal regime, that maybe it could be pushed over, and that would be a nice object lesson to totalitarian tyrants everywhere in the world.
Should be a fun show. Starts now.
The Dream Rare Podcast, welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles, yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's live episode of the Dream Rare Podcast. We're going to talk about Jordan Peterson advocating for regime change in Iran in a second. But first, we want to talk about what some are calling the Chinese spy balloon. China says it's a weather balloon, mostly looking at the weather. But before I talk about it, I want to send this an article, or read this rather, an article that somebody just tagged me right before the live, and I printed it out real quick. It's from, I believe, 2019, and it's a Fox News article that says, Pentagon testing mass surveillance balloons across the United States. It reads, the U.S. military is conducting mass surveillance tests across 6 Midwest states using experimental high-altitude balloons, according to documents filed with the Federal Communications Commission. So just a few years ago, it became public that the U.S. was using some sort of high-altitude balloons to spy. And now you see this Chinese spy balloon. So according to China's foreign ministry, they say it's mainly for meteorological purposes. Sorry, that's an easy word that I stumbled on. Mainly, they said, not completely, mainly, sure. A lot of people are suggesting that it's over the nuclear base in Montana. Business Insider, Chinese spy balloon was not far from U.S. nuclear base. I guess Montana Senator Steve Daines said he feared it was targeting the state's nuclear missile base. Montana is home of the sprawling Maelstrom Air Force Base. So that's one theory. What do you guys think? I'm going to read some of your comments because, I don't really know what to believe. I mean, I highly doubt it was just a weather balloon flying around. That sounds like it's not true. What to do about it? I mean, I definitely think America looks weak, pretty weak, just letting it float around. But why aren't they shooting it down? A lot of people are asking. Here's what they say. Here's the clip.
Ma'am.
Thank you, Pat. You said that this is violating our airspace, so why not take it down?
Yeah, so, clearly as we assess options and considering the size of the payload on this, looking at the potential for debris and the impact on civilians on the ground or property damage, again, running through the various factors and looking at in terms of does it pose a potential risk to people while in the air. And right now, as I mentioned, we assess that it does not pose a risk to people on the ground as it currently is traversing the continental United States. And so out of an abundance of caution, cognizant of the potential impact to civilians on the ground from a debris field, right now we're going to continue to monitor and review options.
And if I may...
So that's why they're not shooting it down. They say it poses no threat to civilians on the ground and it would be too much debris. apparently this is I think there was some reporting that went into this that Joe Biden actually wanted to shoot it down and the Pentagon basically told him no. That poses the interesting question of who's really in charge. Obviously I think the president's supposed to have the executive decision. Maybe he got advised otherwise and decided not to, or maybe they just don't listen to, like who really gets to call the shots, the Pentagon or the president? There's a lot of theories going on. Some people think it's a test run, that this is just a nothing burger and they're just testing to see what they could do. A lot of people in the comments I'm reading are saying it came from Canada, which is an interesting angle if it came from up north. Whether it's a surveillance balloon, a weather balloon, or a dud, just seeing what they could get away with, I definitely think it makes America look weak. I'm not advocating for war with China. I understand that there's some flexes. Nancy Pelosi brings her plastic surgery or whatever to Taiwan and they get upset. Sometimes like boats go a little too far past the line and they're flexing, and this seems to be a pretty big breach where you just got this big balloon floating around our country. And, it's just kind of a weird look. And just the fact that we're just letting it go, it's like, oh, here, it's just going to go across the whole country. It's like, can it not? If it truly is a surveillance tool, I would think that through TikTok and just basically hacking and stuff, that China probably already has everything they need to know. I mean, let's be honest, there's something called Google Maps, where you could pretty much see everything in the country. So what can't China see, since they pretty much already can see everything? What can't they see? I don't know, maybe what technology we're working on at the Montana Air Force Base. Maybe that's something they can't see. At this point, everything's pretty transparent. I'm sure they have spies somewhere. I mean, didn't Eric Swalwell sleep with one or something? Didn't he bang a Chinese spy? Everyone always talks about Fang Fang or whatever. It's like, come on, man. I just, I get what I could get. I'm Eric Swalwell. I mean, I look like I poopy my pants. So I just, if someone flirts with me, it's like, I don't know what's going on. Let's read some comments, because honestly, I don't have a huge stance on this. I'm not an expert on weather balloons / spying balloons. Where do you think this is going? What do you think? I do want to say this real quick, because this is a quote unquote conspiracy theory, guys. Be very afraid, okay? As soon as I say this, run to the Associated Press and hug the Associated Press and be like, please tell me what to think. Please tell me what to think. I don't want to think. So understand, I'm putting a caution label on this. This is a theory that I've heard for a long time. But for a long time, I've seen a few people say for years now that they believe that satellites are truly weather balloons and that all satellites are tied to a balloon and that's how they keep it afloat. I haven't done enough research to really have a stance on it, but I do think it's interesting that this is the first mainstream thing I've seen in a long time where it's like this massive balloon with it looks like a satellite attached to it. If you look at some of the pictures of it, it looks very like that. So a lot of people are like, why wouldn't you just use a blimp or a plane, or isn't there a better way to spy? But I've heard this is like an alternate theory from people that have questions of space, saying all satellites are attached to balloons. Is that true? I have no idea, but I've heard it. Someone said we was balloons. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that's going, but it's kind of funny. Someone said Project Bluebeam, but here's my thing. I don't know. It's like, why would they need to float a balloon to do that? I don't know. We'll see. Someone said, good work, caveman. Defense Department pushed out. Thank you. Let's read some. It's a balloon with a Q in it. If someone pops the balloon and QAnon comes out, it's going to be this Project Bluebeam hologram of QAnon. It's going to be like, I am here, patriots. I am here. Lock down for 2 years and go to the Capitol. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's a Q. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. Now there's going to be Q people mad. Listen, Anomaly, I've been studying the message boards for 15 years. Even though it's only been out for 4 years, I went back in a time machine and I studied for an extra 10 years to be so much smarter than you. How dare you make a joke about weather balloons and Q? We're totally not with the balloon. The balloon is from China. China's connected to you know who. All right. Someone said there's supposedly a second spotted in Guam and Hawaii. Something's just weird about this. I saw somebody post on my Twitter. They're like, the news cycle was boring. There wasn't enough interesting stuff. So they're like, here's a balloon. It's like we're a bunch of cats with a laser pointer. They're like, I'm getting bored. It's like, here's a Chinese balloon. Go run over that. And I'm like, oh, Chinese balloon, clickbait, Chinese balloon. No, but I'm not doing this for clickbait. It's generally just like interesting to me. I'm not like, it's not going to like change my whole life, but it is like, what? I'm not going to be like, let's fight World War III. Like, there already is this battle, and this ties into the last story about Jordan. But, Iran, China, and Russia are kind of aligned, and we're aligned with, I don't know, Israel, Ukraine, obviously, NATO, whoever else we're aligned with or pretends to be our friend. So there's a lot of escalation going on. Israel attacked a weapons plant in Iran. America is in Ukraine fighting a war against Russia. So the third tier of that is China. And China, although we're not like attacking them directly, I don't think they like America very much, to the point of like we're not de-escalating the war. We're kind of escalating it in Iran and Ukraine and Russia in a way. So it's like maybe this is their flex. Like, balloon. Yeah, what? We're China. What? Balloon. Deal with it. What are you going to do? And it's just like floating. It's just like, what? So pathetic. It's Hunter Biden's balloon. You pop it and just a bunch of cocaine comes out. You're like, geez, we should have just left it. I do want to, I'm no aero expert, obviously, but, I have played a video game where I flew a plane once. No, but, I would like to know what's inside of it, because it's like, oh, it's just a this or that. Well, why not guide it in a direction, land it, force it to land, and then investigate it? Like, imagine if America just lets this balloon fly completely out of the country. That would be the most pathetic. It's almost more pathetic than getting attacked. Like, if you get attacked, it's kind of like, you make a war movie out of it by Steven Spielberg or something. But with like a balloon, it's just like, hey, it just goes slow. If they let this leave our country, how pathetic is that? It's like, we're just going to spy on your whole country or modify the weather, or I don't even know what they're doing. And slowly over the course of like a week, it's like, land that balloon. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to shoot it down, land it and then study it at bare minimum. I'm not asking for war with China. Study the damn balloon. Do not let this fly out of our, air. Like, that would be so pathetic. It's over Kansas now or something. Like, someone said it's a germ warfare balloon, a bomb. I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but at the same time, I have no idea what it is. Let's see. All you need is Google Earth to spy on the world, someone said. Yeah, I agree. But I think if you want to study certain like energy frequencies or, like nuclear bases, it probably takes more than Google Maps. That's the only thing I could think of that they would want that they don't already have. Let's go to the second story. If you want, at the end, I'll read some comments, because I'm not going to get upset. I don't have really a huge stance on the Chinese weather balloon. It's interesting. It's weird. That's really it. So let's move to the second story real quick. And, Jordan Peterson, will play the clip again real quick. He talked on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I thought it was pretty good. I agreed with a lot of what he said, but he mentioned, I think at one point, he's like, I don't like to talk about politics that much. Like, and that's fine. He could talk about politics. He doesn't have to talk about politics. I'm not the police of what Jordan Peterson could talk about. He's a grown man. He could say what he wants, do what he wants, wear different color suits. Like, what I'm saying? Do your thing, my guy. But under one breath, he's like, I'm not going to really talk about politics that much. And then, is he even an American citizen? I think he's still Canadian. Maybe he got a citizenship here through Ben Shapiro and Daily Wire or something. But, it's like he's basically telling American citizens to tell their senator that they want to regime change Iran, which I don't care what you think about Iran, whether you like the government there or not. This is a bold move from Jordan. I'm going to play the clip.
If any of you have been particularly taken by this story today, you could always put pen to paper and write your congressman or your senator and let them know that you're not all that happy about the situation in Iran, and that if the politicians got their act together and were stalwart in their opposition to this fundamentalist, totalitarian, misogynistic, brutal regime, that maybe it could be pushed over, and that would be a nice object lesson to totalitarian tyrants everywhere in the world.
There's misogyny in Iran, folks. Jordan Peterson's fighting misogyny and totalitarianism in Iran. See, my first issue with this is one of Jordan's main tenets. I think it's like his main principle is clean your room. Before you judge others, right? Clean your room. America and Canada need to clean our room, right? Jordan Peterson constantly cries about the transgender kid stuff. He can't stop that in America, yet he wants to go to Iran and basically change their regime. If you can't even stop kids getting like propagandized by transgender stuff and you hate it in America, Jordan Peterson, why in the world would you want to take that culture and spread it to another country? I'm not saying Iran's better than America. I'm not saying I want to live there. I'm just saying, aren't you supposed to clean your room before you go over to another country? Jordan Peterson's getting threatened right now in Canada to lose his, basically, I don't know if it's his school or his like license. You know, they're trying to basically de-license him. There's hate speech like semi-laws in Canada. They're starting to come into America. Everybody, including Jordan Peterson, talks about how our culture's sliding and it's becoming so evil and we have no grasp on like the propaganda in America. Yet he's not even a citizen of America, and he's trying to tell his listeners to write their senators. So we go to another Middle Eastern country and regime change them, as if that's not even the reason that Iran is that way in the first place. If you look into the history of American foreign policy, I believe they were less Islamic and more Americanized back in the 70s and 80s. You look at pictures of Iranian women, they're wearing bikinis in the 70s and 80s. And I believe it was American involvement that even flipped it in the first place into the regime it is. And now they want to flip it back. All I'm saying is, Jordan, clean your room. Clean your room in America and Canada. And once we clean our room, then we can go over to Iran and have a conversation with them. But if we are pumping out some of the most degenerate filth in the world right now, our culture is debasing like 5-year-olds and trying to tell them to get gender surgery, and you know how evil that is. Why in the world would you want to go to a country that is misogynistic and tell them to be like your country, and you're going to fight totalitarianism in Iran, but you can't even win in Canada and America? Clean your room, Jordan Peterson. That's your main tenet. I'm not saying Iran's perfect or it's great. I'm just saying we are in no moral or philosophical position to tell them what to do when our slippery slope is out of control. Why would you want to bring that there? Second thing I want to talk about, because a lot of people think I'm just like a hater or something. I'm really not, because on one hand, I do like Jordan Peterson. I think he's like really good with certain topics. He's inspired a lot of people, let's be honest, whether you like him or not. Every time I go to his videos, it's like, Jordan, you saved my life. You saved my life. I know people personally that say Jordan made me a better man. So let's be clear. Jordan Peterson, I think, has had a net positive impact, and there's no taking away from the great impact he's had on millions of people, especially men. And I don't want to take that away from him. On another hand, I feel like something's a little missing with him because, you know, besides clean your room, he's always telling men you need to have an adventurous life. You need to, you know, go out there and take risk and have a life worth living. But once again, he's not even, is he an American citizen? He's from Canada. Maybe he got his green card, but he comes to America and then he was suggesting that Kavanaugh should step down. You could go to his Twitter. He was telling Kavanaugh step down. If you followed the Brett Kavanaugh case, that was some of the weakest evidence I've ever seen in my life. What was her name? Christy Blasey Ford. She literally looked like Brett Kavanaugh dressed in drag. I'm not saying she was, but they looked very similar. It was very weird. You look at their two pictures side to side. They literally look very similar. I'm just saying. But in general, it's like he's telling men to fight the tyranny and not step down. But then he tells Brett Kavanaugh to step down, where I don't think any reasonable person that considers himself somewhat conservative would look at Brett Kavanaugh and be like, oh yeah, like you need to step down, bro. It's not like he R. Kelly'd somebody and they had all the evidence. Dude, there was like, oh, in 1955, you went to a party. And even Christine Blasey's friends were like, I don't even remember that party. Like it didn't even exist. And then Jordan Peterson sees that as a Canadian conservative citizen and says, hey, Brett Kavanaugh, step down. Hey, men, take risk and never bow down to the mob. But Brett Kavanaugh, you should bow down to the mob. It's like, what? He just gets to America on some sort of Daily Wire contract, and then he starts falling for gun control propaganda. You know, Matt McConaughey went in front of Congress and did this whole spiel, and it was totally like a, you know, reasonable gun control. Like, I'm the reasonable Texan actor doing my script, and we need to take away guns, and we need to do this. I'm pro-gun, but we need to take these guns away. And Jordan Peterson posts, and he's like, oh, yeah, this sounds really great. And it's like, listen, I'm not trying to be rude because I think Jordan Peterson's a legend, but bro, stay in Canada. You know what I'm saying? If you like gun control, go back to Justin Trudeau and your friends over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's taking away handguns. You're so afraid of guns, Jordan Peterson. I understand. It's a crazy country. Go back to Canada. Don't come here and say you're for men empowering themselves and not bowing down to the mob. And then you tell Brett Kavanaugh to bow down to the mob. You come to America, you've been here for less than a couple years, and you're already advocating for gun control in our country. Yes, you can go to his Twitter, and he was falling for Matt McConaughey gun control propaganda, saying, this sounds reasonable, I agree with him. Yeah, agree with him from a Zoom call in Canada, bro. We don't need any half-baked liberal, fake conservative intellectuals. Like, go back, dude. And then he comes here, and all of a sudden, he barely ever even talks about foreign policy. And he gets assigned to the Daily Wire, and all of a sudden, he's just adapted Bibi Netanyahu and Ben Shapiro's like foreign policy. All of a sudden, now he's doing interviews with Netanyahu, and he's like, I don't like to talk about politics too much, but American citizens, if you're inspired by my story, go write for regime change in Iran. Jordan, you're about to lose your license in Canada. This is a total. They just locked our country down for 2 years. It's probably easier to go to Iran right now unvaccinated than it is to come to America. We're one of the only countries left in the world that won't let incoming travelers to this country without a vaccine. The only reason Jordan Peterson can even come here is because he bowed down to the big pharma, and he's crying about it now because he was once again a topic he's wrong about. So I'm not trying to basically bash the guy. Like, yeah, nobody's perfect, but I find him as this very peculiar weirdo where it's like I don't, when I listen to him, he doesn't sound like a strong, inspired man, and something's off where he's like, clean your room and worry about yourself, but let's go regime change Iran when we don't even have our stuff together here. Let's go fight another Middle Eastern war in the middle of war. Let's not. Men, you need to stand up for yourself, never bow down to the mob. But Brett Kavanaugh, I've seen enough. Step down. What? That was the, if you were a conservative, or even whatever Jordan Peterson pretends to be, psychologist, and you got fooled by the Brett Kavanaugh thing, you're an idiot. Like that, to me, the Brett Kavanaugh thing wasn't even good. Like, out of the left wing like things that they were doing, that was probably the weakest one out of anything they've ever done. Like, I don't know a single person who fell for that besides Jordan Peterson. You get to America, you fall for gun control propaganda. It's like, just stop, dude. Clean your own room, focus on yourself, and it's just very bizarre to have a foreigner that isn't even from our country basically trying to inspire kids to write a letter to regime change a foreign country. And I want to say this with Iran, a lot of these Muslim countries, etc. I'm not Islamic, I'm not Middle Eastern. I just look Middle Eastern kind of, but I'm not. These are not my countries. I love America. I'm happy to be here. But just like Jordan tells his people, we got to clean our room. We are becoming one of the most evil countries in the world. It's sad. I love America. I'm not Chinese. I'm not Russian. I'm American. I love this country. It's embarrassing when our foreign policy is so fake that we end up being more dishonest than Russia and China. That's embarrassing. Is that not embarrassing? Like, I love America. I'm not Russian or Chinese, but sometimes they end up telling the truth more than us. And it's sad. It doesn't mean I like them. It just means we need to get back to being like the righteous people in the world and honest, because it's pathetic that we're so fake now. Like, we're so fake that Putin sounds more honest than Biden. That doesn't mean you're pro-Putin. It just means Biden's not an honest guy. Even China, they lie a lot too, but sometimes they'll make a tweet and it's more honest than Biden. And it's embarrassing. It's like, I don't want to agree with this guy over my guy. It's just like, they just happen to tell, like, we're so fake and dishonest as a country right now. It's ridiculous. And when it comes to degeneracy we're pumping out of the world, America's great. We have a lot of great people, a lot of great athletes, a lot of great inventors, etc. But if you look at our culture, it's one of the most evil cultures in the world. I don't know how to basically, I'm not God, so I can't balance. I can't tell you what's more evil than what. I mean, I have my own opinions, but as far as which culture is more evil, I don't have an evil scale like probably God does. But is what's more evil? Telling women that they can't enter politics, like the Taliban, telling women that they don't have the same freedoms because they're trying to basically conserve them and not whore them out for an OnlyFans account. Is that more evil, or is America more evil for transgendering children? You know what I'm saying? For cutting the boobs off of 8-year-old girls. Which one's more evil? I'm not convinced that Iran's more evil than America. I don't want to move there. That's not my culture. I don't envy it or anything. I'm an American citizen, but it's hard for me to be like, hey, Iran, you should be more like us. You should get the slippery slope and put rainbow flags on everything. If you had it under control here, then for sure, but you don't. So it's like we go around the Middle East telling every Muslim country that doesn't have a rainbow flag on their embassy that they need to be more liberal. Like, Jordan Peterson's fighting feminism. He's fighting to be more feminist. He hates feminists in America. He gets run over by feminists in Canada. He can't even keep his license in a totalitarian government. He can't even travel to America without a vaccine in our totalitarian, big pharma, psychotic communist state. Yet he's going to free Iran and give them transgender surgeries or something. I don't know. What do you think you're going to do? And if you can only export the good parts of our culture without the wicked ones, then why can't you fix it here? You can't fix it here, just like you can't export only the good without the bad. So it's time to clean your room, Jordan Peterson, and stop telling American citizens to support gun control propaganda, which he did, tell Kavanaugh to step down, which he did, regime change Iran, write a letter and regime change Iran for Daddy Jordan Peterson. It's like the dude is such a clown. And I don't know. I'm not trying to be rude because I do think he's a legend and I pray for his recovery or whatever. But, it's like when he came back, it's like he's like an empty, soulless vessel for Ben Shapiro and neocons to like puppet his body. It's like he just like he doesn't even look like a man. Like he just looks like an empty vessel. Like, who do I like now? Like what war are we starting? Yeah, right. You're saying like it's like he's being controlled by like a marionette or something. It's like he's got some great ideas, but he like. Something just seems totally off about it, where as an American who has been through 20 years of regime change wars, we spent trillions of dollars. We're now in a fake war with Russia and Iran over, Lindsey Graham and all these loser neocons that probably, Jordan Peterson aligns himself with we're egging that war on forever. We're using hundreds of billions of dollars there. Like, as American citizens, we're tired of these fake wars. Yes, I'm glad I'm America. Yes, I don't want to be Russian or Chinese or, these are not my countries. These are not my cultures. But we got to clean our own room. And I'm not for running around the whole world telling them how to act when we don't even know how to act. How are you going to change the culture of Iran to make it so good? To make it what? To make it a country where you lose your license? To make it a country where you get ran out of the schools? To make it a country where you cry every day because, people call you a bigot? To inject feminism and fight the misogynists in Iran so they can have, more rainbow flags and kid surgeries? Like, listen, we can't even balance our own books. So let's not serve Satan and run around the world telling them to be like America, because we're not righteous right now. And that doesn't mean we should hate ourselves, and that doesn't mean we should look down. It's just like the slippery slope is so far gone in America. If you had to ask me which one's more evil, to me, the children thing is super evil. Like, as a woman that doesn't have certain freedoms, there's a certain balance in this world where I understand, like, I believe in, liberty and people being who they really are. But as far as like, what's worse for a woman, like having this super conservative culture where you're basically like not showing off all the time and you're, or like completely just like being so open that you're a mess. Like, I'm not saying the government should necessarily tell you what to do, but as a woman, I think being more disciplined is probably beneficial, just same as a man. And I know there's corruption in Iran and Saudi Arabia. It's not like a perfect society. Of course there's corruption. Of course there's fraud going on. Of course the guys are hypocrites and et cetera. But like, are we in a moral position to tell them to be more liberal? I would say not right now. So that's my take. Let me know what you guys think. And I'll read a few comments maybe and keep it moving. Let me know what you think about the Chinese weather balloons. I really don't know that much, and I don't have that strong of a stance, so I'm willing to read some stuff. Someone said, let's not serve Satan. That's exactly what America's doing right now. I mean, our culture is disgusting. Like, I don't want to just go off, but like, it's not even like they're just trying to be like gay anymore. It's just like how overtly disgusting can we be? Like the Sam Smith, like his new video, I can't even watch it. He's so repulsive. Like, and it's like, oh, that's this or that. No, you're just gross, dude. You know what I'm saying? You don't take care of yourself. It's like waving a slab of meat in my face or something. It's just like, get it away. Oh, you don't like meat? Yeah, no, I like steaks and stuff. It's just like, you're being weird. You're like, it's like it's like, how gross and disgusting and degenerate can we be? How immoral can we be? How far can we debase the kids? How gross, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's just gross. Like the Lil Nas X video where it's like, he's got a bunch of like sex slaves and stuff. It's just gross, dude. You're not the first gay singer or musician. Queen was gay, but they were super like flaming, but they weren't even that annoying or fake. They just were like, yo, we're rocking out. Yeah, we're a little gay, but like we're out here rocking and everybody like you're just like, let me get like 50 naked guys and just rub it in. It's like gross, dude. Just stop. Like, oh yeah, let's bring that to Iran. I'm sure that's what the Iranian kids need is like Sam Smith and Lil Nas X. That'll show those misogynists in Iran. We'll send Jordan Peterson, Sam Smith, and Ben Shapiro, Lindsey Graham, Lil Nas X, Lizzo. That'll show those Iranians what culture they really need. Like, let's clean our own room. Clean your own room. Someone said it's disgusting. Soft points kids can see on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, if your kids are watching YouTube Kids, you should look over your kid's shoulder, because the things that they're promoting to YouTube Kids, Aldo Buzzatini, I don't know his last name, but on Twitter, I've been on his show, I've been talked to him on Elijah's show before. I like him. You know, he did a whole breakdown on what they're showing YouTube Kids. It's not good. It's very dark and it's very gross. Like, and they don't get it. They think you hate them or something. It's like, a kid should not be watching porn, okay? So he certainly shouldn't be watching gay sexual stuff, because even straight porn to like a 12-year-old, in my opinion, is psychologically damaging. So you gotta stop, you know? You gotta stop doing that to the kids. They don't wanna stop, you know? And there's a conversation to be had about a lot of things, but that's something that America is not leading the way in the world, and it's, you know, and then the people who have all this freedom here, they complain about it so much, you know, where they're like, it's like, if you're gay or trans or whatever, like, America is like the best place to be in the world. Yeah, some people are not going to like you, for sure. I mean, that's true to everybody. If you're a straight conservative in America, you probably get just as much, if not more, hate than like a transgender influencer. So unfortunately, in this country, there's a lot of division, and somebody's going to hate you. It sucks. I wish it wasn't the case, but that's just true. But if you are that person, there's no better place to be than America. Like, where do you think you're going to go? Like, there are other countries you can go to, sure. But like, you know, this is one of the most tolerant and the most open, and there's so much industry basically like looking to give you a television show or a boost. You know, YouTube will blacklist my videos and promote you if you're like, there's a lot of opportunity in America for that, but yet they act like it's the worst place here. And it's that mentality that's leading more people against them. If you were to ask the average American, like, you know, 10, 12 years ago, I don't even think they care about this stuff that much. But now it's so in your face and over the top that people don't like it. Like, same with BLM. It's like no one really cared that much. But when you shove it in everybody's face and you just have these fake athletes that are just faking it, it's like, you know, the compliance level, it's like, all right, I'm tired of this. Robert said with a super chat, Chinese balloon equals false flag. Look into the Christian Fellowship. You'll be disturbed. Peace, my brother. I mean, what are you suggesting? I don't know. I'm lost. I mean, I'll check it out, but who do you think sent the balloon? Like, what type of false flag would you think it is? I don't know what you're referencing, but I don't know. Lil Wayne broke the BLM spell. Yeah, Lil Wayne is the man for that. He definitely told the truth. Thank you, Trisha. Let me see. Someone said, where is sexual repression? I mean, people can do what they want as an adult. I'm just saying. I love Jordan, but he lives for I gotchas. Bless his little heart. Anomaly can't help but take the sugar coating off everything. It's how he's wired. As simple and effective as a matchstick. I'm not sure what you're saying, if that's a compliment or not, but that's fine. It's Lil Wayne's balloon. That's a good theory. Lil Wayne sent that balloon, and someone said a YouTube will shadow ban Anomaly, but push Jersey Shore in my face. Yeah, I mean, this country is being basically astroturfed. It's not natural. All this stuff is not natural. They're keeping the truth from people and pumping their agenda into people. And then when you see the kids, they're like, oh, 50% of the kids are gay. Yeah, because 50% of the kids have been absolutely hypnotized by the YouTube Kids section. And you're basically telling these kids when they're 7, 8, 9 years old, like, it's good to be gay. It's a safe card. It makes you a good person. If you're a white boy, you're bad. But if you're transgender, you're better. Like, these are what a lot of these liberals are basically telling them, where it's like, they're pushing them in that direction. It's like, you know, almost like extra credit. It's like, you're better if you go in this direction. And now all the kids are that. It's not natural. They're being pushed in that direction. It's so, you know, when they're pushing, I mean, Jersey Shore is a different topic, but I've gotten, I don't know, almost 1 billion views at this point between Facebook and YouTube against the grain, you know, without any help, without any advertising or marketing. So, you know, I've worked 20 times as hard to get the views I have than the average influencer that they're, you know, it's like swimming with the ocean. They're swimming with the current. So it's like, here, go, you know, getting it. But me, it's like they're pushing me while I'm trying to swim. So you do that to enough people and influencers, you're basically algorithmically just rigging society. Like, and that to me is how they really won the election. This is why, and I don't want to get too much on a tangent, but it's too late. I'm going there. This is why people just want me to listen to Trump and follow Trump. And the thing is, his narrative to me is so like amateur in so many different directions, where it's like he's always 20 steps late. He's talking about this 4 years too late. The election's over. Mass mail-in ballots are already here. He's telling his supporters to go to the Capitol while selling vaccines. Everybody wants me to go. I don't trust him because he's a vaccine salesman. His biggest supporters end up in prison. Like, oh yeah, anomaly, follow. If you don't follow that, you're not a real patriot. I'm a real patriot. I'm not an idiot, okay? I'm a man. I have a brain. I'm not stupid to follow the Pied Piper into prison, into the Fed's hands. So I don't trust anything he does with all this stuff. And a point I want to make with the election is this is the most underrated aspect of the election. Besides the mass mail-in ballots, I mean, that's obvious. Everyone knows. It's the algorithms. If people don't understand how powerful algorithms are, I'll read the super chat in a second. If I run Facebook and YouTube and Google, etc., and I could just shift the scales 5%, that's millions of voters. Like you can manipulate the entire certain thing, and then you're blasting, go get registered, go get registered, go get registered, go get registered. And then you're sending a ballot, and then everything's rigged and you can't find the truth, and the scales are being shifted. Like they're algorithmically, in my opinion, rigging stuff. And that's what's leading to all of this situation. But nobody wants to talk about it. If I ran Google, guys, they're making tens, hundreds of billions of dollars of marketing. One little shift, they could sell $1 billion worth of products. What do you think they could do to an election? If they could rig the scales of Google like they have, if they can rig the scales of YouTube like they have, if they could rig the scales of Facebook like they have, if they could rig the scales of everything, they can shift the entire perception of reality by whatever percentage they want, basically. And think about how that goes in an election that's going to come down to a couple 10 or 20,000 votes in Pennsylvania, etc. So to me, this is like, I'll talk about the election. I'm just not going to follow the same script because, in my opinion, the Mike Lindells, the Kerry Lakes, and the Trumps, they're not going anywhere. I'm not saying they don't have a right to say it. I think it's important to speak out about stuff. But to me, it just seems like a Pied Piper march. Like, let's yell about election fraud, but like where are we going with this? Are we solving the problems? Like, are you being honest about the problems? Are you being the boy who cried wolf, where you're right about 3 out of 7 of the things, but now your audience is just like a bunch of programmed people who end up in the hands of the feds? It's like, it's not, the leadership is just piss poor, in my opinion. People can disagree, but it's like, that's fine. People disagreed with me when they went to the Capitol. You're not a real patriot if you go to I'm not going to the Capitol for Donald Trump selling Moderna vaccines. Like, you think I'm going to fly to Washington, D.C. on my own dime to stand and listen to a guy selling Moderna vaccines? Like, if you don't see that as a red flag and then you get arrested, it's like, at a certain point, it's called self-accountability. Like, if that's your big fight to follow the Pied Piper, that's fine. But what I'm trying to say is all of this stuff could have been prevented or at least addressed. And what the Republican Party does is they wait until it's too late, and then they just start spouting things, and then people follow them, but they never get to the core of what's going on. And the algorithm rigging is like a massive element of it. If you can get Snapchat, the dating apps, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Google, you take every big app, the top 20 apps, and they all tell people register, which they did in 2020. Register. Everywhere you turned, if you look, get a vaccine, register. There's propaganda everywhere. So everybody's just registering, right? Because they have nothing to do. They can't. How come in 2020 they couldn't go to a sports game because it was closed? They couldn't go to a concert. It was closed. They couldn't travel. It's closed. So everybody's on their computer. Everybody's on their cell phone. There's nothing else to do. And now every single app in the country is telling you to register to vote. Okay, so now millions of people registered that never would have registered. Now they mail the ballot to you. So everybody, even the biggest degenerate that never would have voted, they would have been at Coachella or something. I'm not saying you're a degenerate if you go to Coachella. It's just funny. But in general, like, everybody's home. Now millions of mass mail-in ballots are coming in, and it's like you're a robot. They're basically programming you every step of the way. Here's your ballot. Here's your registration. Here's what to think. You can't go anywhere. We're basically locking you out of society. So now more people are voting in the election. I'm not saying it was completely fair. I obviously think the mass mail-in ballots are easy to manipulate. And if you don't have identification voting and one-day voting, it's all ripe for corruption. But what people need to understand too is I guarantee you that tens of millions of people did vote that never voted because they were locked in their house. They couldn't go anywhere. And every social app, dating app, political, everything told them, register. Here's your thing. Just put it in the mailbox. So, that could have been in my opinion, prevented if it was addressed earlier. And I'm talking about like 2016, 2017. And this is my one, criticism of the Trump administration and the Republican Party is we all were talking about this. Why I don't feel that bad for them. In 2016, we all know Alex Jones, whether you want to believe it or not, helped Donald Trump win the election. Alex Jones had one of the biggest YouTube channels. He had billions of views. The dude was a massive success. He backed Donald Trump. Julian Assange backed Donald Trump. Project Veritas helped a little bit. But anyway, after the 2016 election, they started going for people that helped Donald Trump, not just Roger Stone and Michael Flynn. They kicked Alex Jones off of social media. Julian Assange got arrested. So now all these people who helped Donald Trump win are completely wiped off, and they're starting to rig the algorithms against me and other people. And nobody cared. Nobody did anything. The Republicans had power. They didn't. You know why they didn't care? Because they don't actually value Julian Assange. They like Julian Assange when he helps them win the election. After they win the election, they act like they don't even know what WikiLeaks is because they don't want to be bothered by it. Okay, you don't want to be bothered to help Julian Assange, but he helped you win the election, but you don't want to be bothered by him. Okay, you don't want to be bothered by helping Alex Jones, but when Donald Trump ran for office, he had no problem going on Alex Jones's show and saying, Alex, keep up the good work. He went on Alex's show. Alex gets deleted off YouTube. That's a lot of people behind you that you're going to lose and a lot of power that you're going to lose. No Republican cared until Jim Jordan got shadow banned on Twitter. They ignored their entire base for 3.5 years, and then the lockdown comes. And then the mass mail-in ballots could have been prevented by opening the country up earlier. But as we saw from the videos, 2 months after the lockdown, Donald Trump is saying lockdowns are good. He's getting mad at Georgia's Governor Kemp for opening. He's getting along with Gavin Newsom and Phil Murphy. And then he cries about the mass mail-in ballots that he helped bring there, and he still wasn't talking about the algorithm rigging. He still wasn't talking about social media stuff. So and they're slowly just gaining all sorts of ways to win the election. They're like, now we have mass mail-in ballots. Now we have the algorithms rigged. We've kicked most of his supporters off of social media, and the GOP and Trump never cared until it happened to them. So, in my opinion, it's like you're gonna lose. If you're a great quarterback and your whole team gets in trouble and you say, I don't care, it's all about me, eventually you're going to look around, there's going to be no one to throw to. And that's that guy. So it's like, I'm not following him to the Capitol when he's selling Moderna vaccines to get arrested by the feds. Like, oh, that makes me a real patriot. Maybe, but maybe it just means that Donald Trump tricked you, or, like he's always playing the victim. So, I think algorithm rigging is the number one way that they're cheating, in my opinion, like legally cheating. If you gave me YouTube and Facebook and all these social media apps, all I would have to do is turn the scales by 5% and I could make $5 billion. It's like you give me that much data, that much influence, and that much, social engineering, you could change the scale of elections. That's got to be one of the biggest reasons that Republicans aren't winning, that type of manipulation. But we'll see what happens next time. I mean, as much as they're cheating in that way, people still are seeing through it. The propaganda is getting old. They're running out of tricks. It only works for so long. So we'll see. We'll see what happens next time. Someone said you will own nothing and be happy. Sounds very Taoist. Will own nothing and be happy. Give all my stuff to the World Economic Forum. Let me read a few comments before I leave. Thank you, Zillow Watch. I appreciate you. Thank you, Maury. Appreciate you. Thank you, Calypso. Rebecca said it's out of control. Yeah, I mean, I think some people just don't understand what they're doing, but also I think that, they don't care. Like, they don't care until it happens to them. You could claim he won because of social media influence. Well, yeah, this is the point I'm trying to make, and then I'm going to keep this thing brief. And this is what annoys me about, like, the GOP a lot. In 2016, Trump absolutely won because of social media, for sure. That's what helped him win. That's what helped the Bernie Sanders movement. Do you know why? It wasn't Russia. It wasn't, whatever the foreign influence. It was American citizens finally having the power to outpower the New York Times and the Washington Post and the neocons and the neoliberals and the warhawks. We finally won against their propaganda. So after 2016 happened, not just Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, not just Alex Jones, every individual person had a bigger voice in 2016 on Facebook. So after Donald Trump won, they said, we can't allow this to ever happen again. And they started cracking down on all of us. This is my issue with Trump and the GOP. They didn't care until it happened to them. But by the time it happens to you, it's too late. That's why when Alex Jones gets kicked off, you should ask yourself, what did he get kicked off for? And is that going to apply to everybody when people start getting kicked off for big pharma tyranny? So, in a way, I don't see Donald Trump and the GOP as these massive victims of election fraud. I think they're in on it. I think they fail to address the issues. That happens. They win the election. They crack down on other supporters. They have the power, but they do nothing. They do nothing. They do nothing. They do nothing. They only care when it happens to them. And then they tell their supporters, follow me to the Capitol. I'm a big victim. And people believe them to their own detriment because it's like, oh man, he's not a victim. You got to look out for your people. You got to look out for your people. If the people helped you win in 2016 and they get wiped off of social media and you don't care until 2019 and 2020 because it affects you, in a way you deserve to lose. You got to look out for your supporters. You got to look out for the people that helped it happen. And definitely millions of people changed social media forever. And once it happened, they looked at us and said, we cannot allow that. We cannot allow the average mom or the average guy that doesn't have any political power to have a voice in a Facebook group or, to have power on Reddit. They shut down his Reddit account. They shut down this. And the thing is, all of this adds up. I just want to give you a quick example. If I have, this goes back, I don't want to bring up the Crowder Shapiro thing, but I have a Facebook, I have a YouTube, I have a Twitter. If I got kicked off everything, I'm not going to disappear, but I'm losing a lot of my power. If my Facebook goes down, if my YouTube goes down, you might go watch me on Rumble, but I guarantee you my numbers aren't going to be as high as they were on Instagram. So it's inevitable when they kick you off of certain things, you lose power. You're going to lose reach. You're going to lose views. So think about that equation on an election. It's not just the mail-in ballots. It's not just the machines. It's also this. This is probably the biggest part of what they're doing. And people are like, oh, that's not. It absolutely is that. Because if I lost my Facebook or my YouTube, I'm losing probably over 50% of my reach for at least a year. It's not easy to get back. It's nearly impossible. So if they do that on every social media, they rig the scales of Facebook. Donald Trump wins the election. Julian Assange gets arrested. Okay, he's not there. Alex Jones gets kicked off. Well, that's big. Moms can't post on Facebook groups anymore. You're getting kicked off for criticizing vaccines. You're getting kicked off for bigotry. Now they've rigged Facebook. They've rigged YouTube. They've rigged Reddit. They've kicked off every time they do that, they're knocking down the chances. It's like, okay, Facebook's been rigged 20%. Now he's going to lose a lot of votes and power, and not just votes, but really the influence, because it's this big psychological battle going on between the left and right. They're losing the influence. And now his Reddit, he had a huge Reddit thing. They turn off his Reddit thing. That's a huge influence that was influencing people. Well, that's going to lose a little bit. And now YouTube is completely rigged. Well, they're ticking away. It's like if it was a vote, it's like here's 3% we're taking away. Here's 5%. Here's 7%. All of that's adding up. Where can he still win the election? Sure. Against all odds, we still do well because people are waking up. We have a lot of people on our side. The propaganda is getting stale. But to me, all I'm saying is if you ignored that for 4 years and you only care when Jim Jordan gets shadow banned on Twitter, you're too late. You know what I'm saying? It's like, opening up after a lockdown after 7 months. It's too late. They already got what they wanted. It's like bashing Scarf Lady. What's her name? Scarf Lady? McScarfy. What's her name? Oh, Deborah Birx. I forgot. It's like Deborah Birx will run circles around you and dog walks you for a year, and then you talk about her 3 years later on True Social. Well, it's too late. I'm not. You work with Fauci when it matters, but now you make a joke about it. It's too late. I'm not saying I won't forgive you or anything. Like, everybody deserves to be forgiven, but as far as strategically, you're just too late. And that's how it is with social media. They were way too late on that. And in 2020, they used the pandemic as an excuse to start censoring a lot of people. And I understand that it's a difficult task to do, but it's a lot easier to basically counter when you get ahead of it versus wait 4 years. And it's like, there's the old saying, you got to stand up for that person because you might be far on the chopping block, but eventually they're going to come to you. And I always try to stand up for people getting censored because I understand on a scale of people to get censored, I'm not first, but I'm definitely not last. I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I would say I'm further, like Alex Jones. You know what I'm saying? Like these people are first. I'm not the closest next to them because I'm pretty smooth with my reporting. I'm accurate, but you got to understand, I could have easily said, oh, I don't care if Alex Jones gets censored. He's inaccurate and I'm accurate. Yeah, I do think he can tend to, he is accurate on a lot of things, but it's like, I never had that pompous mentality like, oh, I'm so much better than them. It's like, no, they're going to come for me. Yeah, you always think like, oh, it's not going to be me. It's going to be Anomaly because he does the videos, but not me. And then you're locked inside your house and they're trying to force a vaccine on you. So there's a lesson there, whether it's the GOP, Trump, anybody, where it's like, yeah, they're going to go for the craziest person first or the most outspoken First Amendment person first. And then they're going to go for the sloppy reporting people. Then they're going to go for the, Q people or whatever. And you might not like them. And it's like, yeah, they might be lying sometimes, but like, okay. And then they start going for these people. And then they're right next to me like I knew they'd be. And now they're censoring me, even though I'm not making mistakes. Like they start with that and now they're at me. But I always knew they were going to come to me. So it's like, I'm not first, I'm not second, I'm not third, I'm not fourth. Maybe I'm sixth. But, now they're on 10. They've shut down grandmas, posting Trump memes. You know what I'm saying? They're so far past where they should be that's just how it works. So I think there's a lesson to be learned there. And when that's happening in America, to tap into the last story, I'm not saying Iran's perfect. My buddy Benil Dariush, he's a UFC fighter. He's from Iran, and he tells like it's rough there. Like people in Iran want new leadership, and I don't doubt that for a second. But it's like it's not in America, especially for us. If you're not from Iran, like Jordan Peterson's not, we got to focus on ourselves because we're not in the position to really inflict a goodness in another country when we're already on the road to totalitarianism. We don't really. I mean, it's sad to say, but like if you look at certain metrics, we're actually not a free country. I'm not saying we're bad. I'm not saying we're the worst. But if you look at COVID vaccine tyranny, you can get into most countries in the world right now without a vaccine. But you could even get into Australia right now without a vaccine. Australia is more free than America when it comes to medical tyranny. You still, to this day, if you're not vaccinated and you're not an American citizen, you can't get to America. That's bad, okay? When it comes to totalitarianism, that's like, it's probably easier to get into North Korea at this point than unvaccinated than it is America. It's embarrassing. It's pathetic. You know what I'm saying? So if our energy is on ourselves, that's when we fix it up. If we start running around the world telling Afghanistan what to do and Iran what to do, like, it's not the time for that. We don't have that moral high ground at all. And in fact, I think one of the reasons that this country has gotten to this point, no offense, it's people like Jordan Peterson, not the good things he's done. He's helped a lot, but it's these like, half-baked, like Canadian style conservatives that are just really liberals where it's like, oh, duh, it's like, this is why Canada's that way. He even had the nerve to go at Chris Rufo, who's doing stuff for like kids' schools. He's really against like the propaganda in schools. Him and DeSantis are working together. And Jordan's like, oh, it's a slippery slope, Chris. Watch yourself. It's like, what? Dude, I get what you're saying, but it's like the left does everything. They take 500 steps towards totalitarianism. We take 2 steps back towards sanity, and Jordan throws up his hand and saying, oh, watch yourself, Chris. You watch yourself, Jordan. You support gun control propaganda in America. You told Brett Kavanaugh to step down in America. You're telling people to regime change Iran in America. Chris Rufo doesn't need to watch a step. You do, bucko. Clean your room. And I'm not saying that as like a rude like threat or anything. It's like I love Jordan Peterson. I pray for his health and happiness. I'm just saying in general, it's like, bro, this is why America is the way it is. When our conservatives are liberals, what's the point of even having, an enemy when your best friend is just as bad? Like, let's go fight another Middle Eastern country and let's cry when a conservative actually wins one time and let's support gun control propaganda. It's like, this is why Canada is the way it is. And I love some Canadians, no doubt, but I watch the Canadian elections. Like, their conservatives are Democrats in America. The guy on stage who's like, I'm the conservative party, he sounded like Elizabeth Warren. You know what I'm saying? That's the conservative party, whatever his name was. He's like, oh, we need to focus on climate change. And it's like, bro, am I listening to a conservative or Elizabeth Warren? That's why, Canada's so like the way it is because the conservative party is so far left that it's just like, it doesn't even matter who wins. And it's to an extent like that in America, but, I just want to focus on ourselves, focus on our country, and then once we return to glory, we can start really telling other people how to live. But it looks very dumb when we are one of the most tyrannical countries when it comes to travel right now, and we think we can like instill freedom and anti-misogyny and another. It's not time for that now. God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Appreciate you for being here. Have a beautiful weekend, and I'll be back with more videos soon. If you haven't seen, check out, I did like a quick 5-minute AOC reaction video. It's pretty funny. We did a video about Scott Adams yesterday talking about me. Fun stuff. I enjoyed it. Have a good one, guys, and I'll be back tomorrow, Sunday or Monday.